Hello readers and digital people, and welcome to my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. I honestly considered not even making this review, like most of the day yesterday, and to be honest, I almost quit making reviews in general after watching this movie. And this really shouldn't be that hard for me, but it hit me on so many emotional levels that I wasn't expecting that I had a hard time even making it out of the theater, which I guess it's more of a me problem. But anyway, I'm going to show you the video that I made yesterday before I saw the film with my expectations, and then we'll circle back. As most of you know, Spider-Man is a very important series to me. It's another one of those like Ghostbusters. I just really like it. I really related to Peter Parker growing up and the character and the things he went through. But because it's such a special series to me, and my favorite Spider-Man being Tobey Maguire, not because of Tobey, but because of the characters in universe, which is, you know, the villains, which is all that mattered to me. And it looks like we're going to be getting Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and pretty much everything else from all the other Spider-Mans, what it looks like from what I've seen so far. I don't know exactly what's going to be in there, so I have very high expectations. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to give my expectations, my thoughts before seeing the film, so that you all get a contrast of what my expectations are for the movie versus what it delivers. And I may be a little bit harsh. I'm not trying to be harsh, but because it is an important movie to me and I don't want them to ruin the lore of a franchise that I really care about, I'm going to be a little bit more... I'm going to be a little tougher on them. Alright, so first of all, and the number one thing that I'm going to expect, I'm not going to expect a lot out of this part, but I am going to expect this part to at least be in there. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield have to at least make an appearance. They don't have to be in there long, they don't have to be the ones to defeat the villains, they don't have to be a major plot point, but they need to be made canon so that the Spider-Man, I guess that's what you would say, so the Spider-Man that we actually care about are in the new Marvel canon, because the Marvel Connected Universe is kind of the, you know, what most people consider to be the true canon universe of all of these characters. So it'd be great to have our Spider-Man in the universe. Alright, number two, I'm expecting some kind of drama, and that sounds weird to want, but I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man Lost Gwen. Honestly, I would love for this Mary Jane, this love interest of Spider-Man, to actually survive, because Spider-Man is always screwed over, and he deserves a little bit of happiness after everything he sacrificed for people. So I don't want her to die, but I do want there to be a lot of drama. Maybe because of all the chaos, like he has to like put the relationship on the side for a while and kind of move away from her, so there's that sadness, but then we're rewarded later with them getting back together. I feel like because Spider-Man is always surrounding this not really depression, but this dark aura of character development, that there really should be that element included in this as well. I mean, he did get, you know, erased during the whole Endgame thing, but I don't really feel like that was enough of a drama to be true Spider-Man character development drama. It needs to be something relationship related, or, you know, Uncle Ben related. We didn't even get to see Uncle Ben die. We really need that element of drama to really be able to relate to this character and really feel like it's a real Spider-Man. Because right now, it feels like a Spider-Man fan comic, but not in a bad way. More so in how we all kind of wanted his life to be, where it's kind of good and it's really high action, and he's involved in the Marvel Extended Universe and everything. But it's starting to feel a little bit like Spider-Man branded Marvel movie and less like a Spider-Man movie, if that makes sense. The main element we love about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man isn't his acting, it's the fact we were able to connect with him. We saw the pain, we saw the suffering, and yet he persevered. Because the true definition of a hero, at least to me, is someone who goes through hardships and then prevails. I mean, just that feeling, that reward of seeing them go through a hardship and still pushing on and being that hero. That's what made me love Spider-Man. So if it doesn't have that, I'm probably not gonna love it. Alright, 3, and this is kind of weird for a Spider-Man movie, but I want Doctor Strange to have a major involvement. I mean, it seems like he's gonna be a pretty big plot point, but I don't want it to be he's at the beginning and then it's all Spider-Man the rest of the time. I mean, he doesn't have to be in the whole thing, but I would like some involvement, you know, in the beginning, maybe a little bit more in the middle, maybe a little bit towards the end, or at least, you know, he goes back to him and they explain everything and fix whatever. I don't want it to just be using him as a catalyst. I don't want... Doctor Strange has been a throwaway character enough times already, and I don't mean that as far as the character itself, I mean the plot points. They've used him to do something and then just kind of threw him aside, and that's not fair to the character. because he's an awesome character. Doctor Strange is one of the best Marvel series ever for those who read the comics. I mean, there's so much to it. I don't know, it may just be a personal bias, but I love Doctor Strange. I don't want him to be screwed over just because it's a Spider-Man movie. It should be a collaboration, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange movie. And like I said, he doesn't have to be in all of it. He just needs to be in enough of it where it feels like a collaboration and not just using him again. And I don't want to make this too long because I'm probably going to have a pretty long review once the actual movie comes out. So I'm just going to do one more point, a plot twist. Yes, of course they're going to have plot twists, but what I mean by that, this is a very simple request, and I feel like it really needs to happen. Whatever happens that gets rid of all of these reoccurring enemies, Doc Ock and Green Goblin and Sandman and everybody, whatever it takes to get rid of them, I don't want there to be a missing open space where there's no villain. Because if you do that, you really need to conclude it. If you're going to do that, this needs to be the last Spider-Man themed Marvel movie. He can still be in the Avengers movies and all of that, but if you're going to have Spider-Man-centric movies, and you end this with him, kind of becoming the new Spider-Man, taking on all the villains, becoming the main Spider-Man, and taking out all these villains, if you leave it open, it needs to be the end. Otherwise, it's going to be, plot-wise, it's going to be just ridiculous. Now, what I mean by a twist is after all of them are defeated, toward the end, or after credits, whatever it takes, instead of going off to the next movie or introducing the connection to the next Avengers or whatever, there needs to be either a hint or an actual exclusive look at the next villain. If you don't do that, please end it. Now, if you do bring out that twist and you do bring out the next villain for one more Spider-Man movie, you need to end it after that. Not in the sense that you need to stop having Spider-Man movies, but you need to find a new angle instead of just fighting all the old enemies over and over again, because if you become that, you will be dissolved like Amazing Spider-Man, not by choice. Trust me. What needs to happen after that, there's either needs to be a brand new enemy that's never been on screen before, or you need to take the Doctor Strange approach and insert Spider-Man into another movie. Now, if you do that, the story, the extended universe story, and the Spider-Man story will flow well, and it'll be beautifully done. If you don't, people are going to burn out of it isn't even the movie, it isn't even Spider-Man, it's the idea in their head that they're getting a remake again. And if they burn out from that, they're going to lose Spider-Man again. You'll have to either reboot later on, or you lost it. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I might not seem like I know what I'm talking about, but I do. I don't know why I was doing the axolotl face, but yes. So that's all I have to say. I can't wait to see the movie tomorrow. It's funny because it checked off pretty much all of my boxes, which is what I thought I wanted, but I guess what I thought I wanted wasn't what I really wanted, because Tom Holland's Spider-Man was more of a happy, he actually got something for once Spider-Man, and that's what I loved about the Tom Holland Spider-Man. It made it different because he wasn't somebody who was having to struggle just to survive. And honestly, after all these years of seeing Spider-Man do that, I mean, that's why I related to him, that's why I love Spider-Man, but after seeing so many years of that happening, I was really ready to see Spider-Man have a happy ending, And I really wanted to see that transition from the Tom Holland Marvel Avengers Spider-Man into, the real Spider-Man, our official Spider-Man, Spider-Man more so closely related to the comics. And that happened, but in that happening, they also put him back into that depressive, has-nothing state. And I don't really want to spoil anything. That's enough spoiler as it is. There's so much to spoil in this movie. First of all, go ahead and see it if you like Spider-Man. It's awesome. It's just that it gave me everything I wanted, and in doing so, I completely hated it. I'm sorry. I loved the movie, but I also hated it. It was a very love-hate, bittersweet relationship. And I'm calling it a relationship, but it was, because Spider-Man relates to me. When I was a little kid, I really clung on to Spider-Man. Just the character, the selflessness, and honestly, without even realizing, I based a lot of myself on that. But you also have to realize that Spider-Man is the giving tree. And in helping people, he gives up stuff for himself and ends up messing up his own life. And that definitely happens here. Like I said, I'm going to spoil some things, so I'm going to put a spoiler alert at the beginning, but I'm going to try to be as spoiler-free as possible. But honestly, in my opinion, what happened to the Tom Holland Spider-Man is worse than what happened to the Tobey Maguire or the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I don't really like the Amazing Spider-Man as much because I didn't relate to him as much. It was kind of just this cool kid, and I didn't really feel that sense of awkwardness that I did with Tobey Maguire that I really related to, because I was a very awkward kid. So that's why Tobey Maguire related so much to me. And I've always had bad luck in relationships and stuff, and I've always had trouble getting into them, and always been awkward, always been that shy kid that had trouble even starting friendships. If it weren't for my friendships as a kid that just kind of propelled me into situations, I never would have hung out with anybody who did anything. So it was always other people that really gave me that sense of belonging, and that's kind of how I felt with, Harvey. Okay, I'm going to say this, though. Green Goblin was the best part of this movie. This is definitely the Green Goblin sequel that we all wanted. This is this is Green Goblin's movie. This is no one else's movie. Green Goblin is amazing in this movie. And honestly, I love what they did with the other villains. I love that they didn't just go with your basic beat 'em up. They went with a very different angle. I was really excited about that. It made the movie a lot less generic, a lot more original. I really liked the direction they went. And, experiencing all of the bad things that happened to those villains, most of those villains weren't bad people. They were people that were either possessed, people that got in bad situations. Doc Ock, his chip that was supposed to protect him broke, so the tentacles took over. Kind of the same thing with Green Goblin. I mean, he had like a double side. He was actually a good person, and then he had this evil side that took over his body. So it was really interesting to see that dynamic. They didn't just bring them back as villains. Actually, same thing with Sandman, too. They were really all villains that really just had something broken about them, and the fact that they tried to help them instead of just killing them was really awesome. I really loved that angle they took. And really, I mean, I related to all the villains, too, in Spider-Man movies. So seeing their problems fixed finally, it actually made me break into tears, because I was like, yes, you can. You can make it through your problems. You can make it through your trauma. You can be better. You can have things. And then at the end of the movie, okay, this is going to be pretty spoilery. They took everything away from Tom Holland after he helped everybody. So it's like, maybe, it makes you think, maybe in life, maybe you can't give and be nice to people and have things and have a good life too. Maybe it's one or the other. Maybe you can either be selfless and have that enjoyment and that happiness in helping others, but in return you end up losing something for yourself, or end up losing yourself. Or you could choose to not be so selfless and do things for yourself and have things. I don't know, it really hit me in the wrong way. I don't know. For those of you who know, I've had some things go on, and I've got past most of it, but it really, I don't know why, but it brought all that back, and it really just made me think, well, you've sacrificed a lot for the life you have now. You've sacrificed relationships, you've sacrificed friendships, you've sacrificed time. You've really put yourself into this world so that you can be happy. But was that the right thing to do? It just makes you feel like you can't, because one of the things I really want to focus on this channel is I really want to help people. I really want to give them hope. I want to show them that they can get past things, that they can make it past trauma, show them how to get past trauma in some ways. That's the reason I wrote my books. That's why people in my books had to fight through things. I wanted to show people there's hope, that there's a chance, that you can make a better life, you can do what you want to do, you can be happy. And, I mean, I got that essence in the movie, but it's like a curse, It's like no matter how much good you do, no matter what, the curse is in doing good, you're always going to end up screwed over. And I hated that. And honestly, I felt like the plot kind of lost itself towards the end to focus more so on transitioning Tom Holland into the real Spider-Man and the real Spider-Man situations. I mean, it's the same character, I understand, but it made the end of the movie feel more like a reboot than a continuation. It really did. It really felt like a reboot of Spider-Man at the end of this movie, which I'm so tired of reboots of Spider-Man. So I didn't like the ending at all. I did, but I didn't, because I really wanted to see that transition. I wanted to see him experience his trauma and become that actual Giving Tree Spider-Man character, because that's the character I fell in love with. But at the same time, I really wanted to see a hopeful situation too. I mean, they did multiple bad things to him, but just one of those things could have been enough to do it. But they made every bad thing happen to him and put him in a worse situation than either of the other two Spider-Mans, and it's just not fair. I guess they're saying because he had more before, that now he deserves less, but I've never been for that mindset. You shouldn't punish someone just because they had more, and especially if they can't help it. You should be punishing people for having more than you. You should try to get more too so that you can both be happy, because 2 people who are sad is not as good as 2 people who are happy. And I've always had that mindset. I've always hated that mindset of people wanting to bring other people down because they're on a lower level, because they don't think it's fair to them. Okay, instead of putting all this time and effort and energy into bringing other people down, try bringing yourself up. It's on you. You can come out of bad situations and be happy. You know what? Screw Spider-Man. Screw all that. If you're in a bad situation and you feel like other people have had things better than you, that's proof that you can have better things. There is no curse. That's proof that you can have better things. So you bring yourself up there and you point it in their face and say, okay, now here's my revenge. My revenge is that I'm happy now. I'm there, because it's a lot more rewarding than someone that was just handed to him. The real reward is you getting there yourself after. So honestly, think about it this way. The people that already have it will never have that. You have something better that they'll never have. You have something that they don't have. See, it's give and take in every aspect of life. Some people have more stuff from the beginning, some people have less stuff from the beginning. But the people that have less stuff in the beginning, they enjoy it more because they had to actually earn it. And the people that already had it never will. So see, they have something less too. What you have is important and special in its own way, and is just as valuable as what everyone else has. Once you realize that, then you'll start having some peace, and you'll start having some happiness, because if you're trying to become someone else, I promise you'll never be happy. No matter how much money you get, no matter how many women, no matter how big a house you have, I promise you'll always be miserable. I promise. And you'll not know why. And that's why. Because you were never happy with what was given you in the first place. And that is the weirdest review for that movie. But that's my review for Spider-Man No Way Home. It delivered on transitioning him into Spider-Man, which was good. It had the key aspects I wanted, which was good. But I didn't like the fact that they threw in everything bad just to say, this is the real Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man that did it all. This is our true Spider-Man. This is your Spider-Man. I don't like the fact they shoved that in our face, when what they did before, about halfway through the movie, was enough. They kept shoving other things just to like force us to accept him. I already accepted him at that point. You didn't have to keep forcing it. Now that you forced it, I don't accept him. So that's to you, Hollywood and Sony and everyone who was in the film. Great acting. You all did wonderful. It was a great job. It was the writer's problem. And that was the first time I walked out of a movie theater unable to even talk about a movie. And it almost made me quit movie reviews completely. I'm being honest. I almost quit YouTube. I didn't almost quit YouTube, but I almost quit reviews in general after watching this movie, because it hit me in every wrong way. Anyway, I'm rambling on now. Thank you all for stopping by. Just see the movie, but keep in mind, if you haven't seen already, I've already spoiled a lot, just keep in mind that they're going to try to make everything bad that's ever happened to Spider-Man happen to poor Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Keep your eyes wide open. Never stop reading. And something else I forgot to mention is that everyone didn't know how to react either. It wasn't just me. At the end of the movie, people were clapping and cheering, but it was very muted and very strained and just awkward, because everyone felt so bad for Spider-Man that they had a hard time cheering. So I don't know how to process that. Hey, thank you all for watching. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons. Thank you all so much for everything you do to support what I do. Vexus, CNK114, Investigator Zeus, Dobby's Music, Jerry Mullins, and Phantasm 7. Thank you all again for keeping this channel and my other projects going.